this video, I just want to work on setting up our equations when we're working with an application problem for systems of equations. So my focus is going to be setting up the equations. I'm not going to focus on solving them. If you need help with solving the system once it's set up using elimination or substitution or graphing, go back and watch one of the other videos. But otherwise, I'm just going to focus on setting them up, and then you guys should at this point be able to solve them. Otherwise, go back and watch a video. So I'm going to show you sort of two classic setups to these problems. So in this case, one of our classic types of problems is our big bag of money. So in this case, we got a bag of coins that I'm noticing that I have 51 coins. Some of them are nickels, some of them are dimes. I also know how much money I have altogether, $4.30. And the question is, how many nickels, how many dimes you have. So the reason that this is going to be a system of two equations is because there's two unknowns. And so maybe the first thing I want to do is make a little note about my variables. I'll use n and d because those make sense. I'm going to say n is the number of nickels that I have. And you don't need to do this step, but I like to do this step, especially if you're using variables that don't make sense in the problem, like x and y. So d is going to then be the number of dimes that I have. And so because I have two unknowns, there's going to be two equations I have to write. And in this sort of classic setup, the way that I think of this is that we're going to have two equations always. One of my equations is going to be the amount equation. How much stuff do I have altogether? The other equation is going to be the value equation. How much is that stuff worth? So let's start with the amount equation. And in the amount equation, I'm going to go back and reread my problem and note that I have 51 coins, so I know how much stuff I have altogether. So since n and d stand for the number of nickels and number of dimes, all that means is, simply put, I've got some nickels, I've got some dimes, and together I have a total of 51 coins. So notice there's no like dollar amounts in that equation. Your amount equation is all just straightforward numbers, or variables, I suppose. Your second equation, though, is going to be where all the money goes. So our value equation. Well, how much is a nickel worth? A nickel is worth 5 cents. So I'm going to say 0.05n plus how much is a dime worth? Dime is worth 10 cents, so 0.10d. And then how much money did you have altogether? $4.30. So notice that equation that has all my variables, or all my money in it, sorry. Some people don't like working with the decimals, so an alternative way to write this equation would be to multiply everything by 100, or in other words, write everything in terms of cents instead of dollars. So I could rewrite this equation as 5n, 5 cents for a nickel, plus 10 cents for a dime would equal 430 cents. Again, I just went through and multiplied everything by 100. So if that's easier to use, then I'm just going to cross that out and just use that second equation, the one with all cents. So there's my two equations. From there, once it's set up, it shouldn't be too tricky. It's another elimination or substitution problem. You can sort of take your pick. Again, I'm not going to focus on solving them this time, so if you need help with actually solving this system, go ahead and watch one of the other videos or ask me a question in class. Otherwise, pause the video, try to work this out real quick. Otherwise, my answer will pop up in just a couple seconds. So there you go. After I solved it, I came up with 16 nickels and 35 dimes. It's easy enough to check. I know I can see that I have 51 coins altogether if that's the case, and I could do a little math to make sure that that does add up to $4.30. If you didn't get that solution, then double check your work or come in and ask me a question. So let's set up one more, another sort of classic type of setup, the ticket problem, to get you one more example to take a look at. And again, I'm not going to focus on the actual solving of this in this video. So if you need help with that, ask me in class or watch another video. So in this case, we have tickets to a school play. There are two kinds of tickets being sold. The tickets are student tickets for $5 and adult tickets for $7. I know how much money I made altogether, and I know that, oh, notice this time, I sold 50 more student tickets than adult tickets. So it's not a total, I didn't sell a total of 50 tickets. I sold 50 tickets, 50 more student tickets than adult tickets. So my amount equation will be slightly different. So again, the question is how many types of each ticket did I sell? So there's two variables, two unknowns. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to, again, identify my variables. So I'm going to use S and A because those make sense to me. S is the number of student tickets, number of students, and then A is the number of adult tickets that I sold. And this step is really important, especially if you're not using variables that make sense. So identify what they are. All right, like last time, in this sort of classic setup, I'm going to have two equations. One of them is going to be about the amount of stuff I sold. One of them is going to be about the value of that stuff I sold. I'm actually going to write the value equation first. I think that's a bit easier to do in this case. So my value equation is where all the money goes. Well, student tickets were $5 a piece, so I'm going to say $5 times every student ticket I sold, plus adult tickets were $7 a piece, and then how much money did I make altogether? That was $1,450. So there's all my money. All your money goes in the value equation. None of it is going to go into the amount equation. In the amount equation this time, remember, we noted that it was 50 more student tickets than adult tickets. So I'm not adding two things together to equal 50. Instead, I'm adding 50 to one of my variables, either the S or the A. Now, some people get really confused with how to do this, so here's the trick that I use. Find the word then in the sentence, or it might be the word as, like they may say 3 times as many tickets. So find the word then or as in the sentence, and look at the variable or idea, I guess, that comes after the word then. So my arrow has to kind of go all the way backwards. So look at the word that comes after the word then. That's what you're going to add to. That's the trick that I use. So I have the adult tickets, remember, not value, so just A, the number of tickets, plus 50 would equal the number of student tickets. Now, some people think that's backwards because we said 50 more student tickets than adult tickets, but think about it for a second. If I say 50 more student tickets, what that means is that there are more students. So just pick a random number to plug in for A. So for example, if A was 50, then 50 plus 50 gets me 100 student tickets, which is what I wanted. I wanted more student tickets. So even though it seems backwards, it actually is correct. So there's my two equations. At this point, go ahead and use substitution or elimination. This one is kind of set up really well for substitution. Otherwise, you'd have to do a little bit of rearranging to get elimination to work. If you need help with that, ask me in class. Otherwise, pause the video, work out your solution real quick, and my answer will pop up in just a couple seconds. There you go. I came up with 150 student tickets, 100 adult tickets. If you did not, ask me in class. If you did, congrats. That's awesome.